Viewer discretion is advised.
Podcast. I'm your currently only host. I like that. For those of you guys who are just tuning in and missed last week's, Gunny is gone. He has some schooling stuff that he's got to take care of, and he's not going to have the time for the podcast. So, for this and this episode only, I am your solo caster. I'll put it that way. In terms of who will be replacing Gunny in the time being, you're just going to have to sit through this podcast. I'm going to go ahead and address that at the end of this episode. So other than that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in with covering what happened tonight in FC news, or actually last night, considering that you'll be listening to this on a Monday. Well, as we all know, last war, Red had essentially complete control of the rape train. Fuzzy stepped out, and Relapsive was put in charge of the rape train, and, well, I don't know what happened in terms of exactness, but what I do know is that Blackhawk, in his panda suit, got onto that rape train, took control of it, and just completely dominated tonight. What I mean by that is, this week, Blue has the keys to the rape train, it seems. Blue had a sweeping victory tonight, winning both Meltdown and Guardian. Meltdown was, of course, the Red Assault, and Blue was able to win 10 out of the 14 games played. Red was able to secure only 4 of those. In terms of Guardian, which was a 4v4, I know a lot of people had bets on Blue winning this. Blue was able to pull off the victory with a win of 14 to, it seems, about 10. Out of the total, 26 games were played instead of the full 27, so Red was able to secure 12 of those victories, Blue securing 14 of them. In terms of our top units and squads this week, our number 1 squads were both Legacy and VVD, tied with 7 wins, 0 losses. Both, of course, being Blue. Our top Red squad was Vanquish with 4 wins, 2 losses. No ties at all tonight, which is kind of unfortunate because we kind of got into that little habit of ties every week. But in terms of battles, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much expecting Red to come back, train even harder this week, and give Blue definitely a run for their money next week. It's a little surprising, though, that Meltdown was the one that had a lot more Blue domination, because I know, at least personally, being in Blue, we looked at Guardian a lot more. We had a lot of Vcash riding on Guardian, and so Meltdown kind of went on the back burner, and we were able to secure a sweeping number of victories. Guardian, I'm assuming Red also practiced that pretty hard, knowing how confident Blue was. That actually had a lot closer games, and from what I'm seeing in here, it doesn't, and from what I'm looking at the scores, it doesn't seem like Red, didn't try. They definitely gave Blue a run for their money. A lot of these games were really, really close, and so I'm definitely expecting to have even more close games next week. Hopefully everybody listening is going to be able to tune in, of course, for battles. But yeah, in terms of other FC news, we recently got new skins, including a mobile skin for the site, which is definitely nice. I know that's something that we wanted for a while, and it's just in time for new battles. And yeah, tomorrow, attack plans will most likely be finalized. You guys will, of course, be able to find that on the homepage. And if you guys are wondering why this is all still here, although it was voted that we'd have an FC newscast, well, I'll put it frank, I don't have a co-host yet. I haven't started working with a new co-host yet. So as of now, the newscast is being put on the back burner for a tiny bit. I can tell you, though, that either starting next week, if I have the time for it, because I'm rather busy this week, unfortunately, or the week after that, the newscast will start up. And what that's going to be, if you guys have missed it, is it's going to be essentially an in-depth look at all things FC and gaming news oriented. So what we're going to do is not only talk about battles like I briefly do here, but we're going to go and say if something came down to a tied high command battle, or just decisive games in general, like there was one thing that it was riding on, we're going to actually take a look at waypoint, take a look at kills, take a look at KDs, stuff like that, and actually figure out the full stats for the game. It's going to be a lot more stats oriented, kind of like sports coverage. In terms of the FC stuff, it'll cover any FC news and also most likely some gaming news as well. I'm thinking about covering everything from possibly AGL tournaments and letting you guys know what's going on in that realm, to other competitive areas, to even just general gaming stuff. So definitely tune in for that when we have it up. Of course, shameless little self-plug here, the FC Salvation Army is still going on. However, I'm going to make a quick addendum to this, and this will end up being reflected in the forums at some point. It was suggested today when I was talking to somebody about the upcoming map pack to come out that we have both of those maps on the war map this go around in this war. Unfortunately, people like me, who are currently broke out of their minds, aren't going to have money to get that when it comes out, and we're going to see Battle Lines definitely suffer on the grounds that people aren't going to be able to get these maps. So, what I have thought about doing, and I'm going to open it up and see if we can get any kind of codes for it. We'll see where it stands. It has been suggested that I could offer up Microsoft Point donations as well. That could be donated so people could use it for stuff such as that. Now, this is going to be definitely in the beta phase. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that if you guys would like to donate Microsoft points on top of other codes and stuff, feel free to do so. I think it would be best to do codes if you could in terms of, or in increments of like, I don't know, 200 if you can get those. Like, definitely a small one. Like, I mean, don't give me like a 2400 code because I'm not going to be able to split that up, you know. So definitely in some kind of small, essentially the small size they got. And essentially what we'd be able to do with this is if, say, somebody, and I mean, we really know, like, of course, there is the possibility of fraud with this. But, you know, we're a gaming community. Hopefully that won't happen. It'll essentially come down to what I might have is on the application. Not only do you have to state why you're doing it, but you have to have somebody, a respected FC member, vouch for you. And just to kind of prevent fraud. So, you know, like, have this your squad leader vouch for you and go, you know, I've known this guy for a while. He's in economic hard times. Needs help getting these DLC maps so we can participate. And so, yeah. So in the meantime, if you guys would like to donate those codes, feel free to do so. I would definitely accept it and be able to try to help people out there. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of FC news, guys. I believe the FC draft games are still going on, but I'm not totally sure what's going on with that. At least from what I've heard from it, it seems to be a little on the down low. Other FC news, shameless self-plug for you guys to get involved in the RP. I'm a member of that, and we can always use more people getting involved. And other than that, that's pretty much it. This is, of course, being the first podcast and the first battles of the third FC Reclamation War, the third war of Halo 4. So yeah, guys, I think what I'm going to do now is shoot you guys over to a break. When you end up coming back, I'm going to have a guest on the show, because as you can tell, I'm doing this all on my own, and I'm getting a little tired of talking to myself. And we're going to have a quick gaming discussion about theories about Cortana's possible return to the Halo series, as well as a quick discussion, if I have time for it, about video game villains. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to close you guys out with some listener mail and the revealing of the new podcast co-host. So definitely stay tuned to that. Don't change that channel, and we'll be right back with the FC podcast. And welcome back into the FC podcast. I'm your
co-host, Killer Gunny 132, and to my right is Toast 7891. Not really. Gunny's gone. I thought I'd do my best Gunny impression, and it sucked dick. However, as you guys probably noted in the first segment of this, I pretty much was just talking to myself. I decided, fuck it, I'm going to bring in somebody because I'm tired of sitting here like a maniac. So I have brought on, in fact, the guy who will replace Gunny as my new co-host. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's up, FC? This is UG Urias right here.
Yeah, Urias isn't really going to replace Gunny. But anyway, I did bring him on so we could go ahead and... I don't know about that. Gunny's got some big-ass shoes to fill. Trust me, I've seen his feet. So...
What you got? I'm wearing size 11s.
I've got 11 and a half. Gunny, I don't know. I actually don't know what size he is. I'm the one with the big feet. I have 11 and a half extra wide. Anyway. So yeah. I decided anyway, that I was going to bring Urias on. We were going to go ahead and have a bit of a discussion here, and I thought that we would go ahead and pick, as long as Urias is cool with it, a discussion about the theories about Cortana's return to the Halo series.
And the other one was what?
The other one, if we have time for it, I thought we could also just kind of do a quick rundown on top video game villains, just because I thought that that's always an interesting topic to discuss. But before we get into any of that, we're going to have Urias go ahead and introduce yourself a bit, tell us your name, where you're from, when you joined FC, all that good stuff.
Alright, so my real name is Connor Murray. Should be easy to find me on Facebook, but let me know if what your gamer tag is before you add me on there, or else you won't get on there.
Internet stalking.
Yeah, I already stalked you. But anyway, I'm 19, and I'm from Florida, but due to being an Air Force family, I've grown up everywhere.
Oh my god, that makes so much more sense now that you're from Florida. Oh my god.
How so?
Nothing.
Okay.
Kaz, when Kazol listens to this out there, and anybody else from Florida, they'll know what I mean when I start bringing up Florida.
Well, I don't typically associate myself with the Florida crowd.
No, you don't.
I think that's about it for me. Oh, FC. I joined February of this year.
Why did you join? Did somebody put a gun to your head and tell you you needed to join?
No. Actually, I was on Reddit, on the Halo subreddit, and I saw a recruiting message for FC, and I joined because it's not like any other community I've been in, and that it actually has a purpose for staying in. Wars.
Well then, I'm gonna have to, one, say that's really cool that we got you because you're a really cool guy, but two, I'm gonna have to say fuck you for using Reddit, and fuck Kaz for using Reddit, and fuck anybody else who's using Reddit. Anyway.
Reddit can be interesting. I don't fucking care.
I hate Reddit with a passion. But anyway, so going into what we were going to talk about, I brought Urias on, like I said, for that conversation because I've done some reading recently and ended up looking into some things, thought it was an interesting topic, and Urias here is in the RP with me, and he's definitely somebody that knows Halo lore at least a hell of a lot better than I do. So he's going to be our resident expert for the conversation. All right.
Oh, resident expert. Is that like a term for, we don't actually have an expert, but here's someone who almost is?
I need to find like a legitimate expert that I can bring on. But anyway.
Frank O'Connor?
Maybe. I'd love to see him actually get in here. That would be interesting. Be like, hey, bro, I can imagine that email. Hey, bro, I run a podcast for a Halo gaming community. You want to come and talk about Halo? Like, it'd be fun. We could be best friends.
Hey, brah.
Hey, brah. What's up?
One of my best buddies.
But anyway, so we're going to go ahead, and I think we'll just address the simplest one in terms of theories of Cortana coming back in either Halo 5 or Halo 6. Which personally, actually, we'll voice this first. I feel that they should have a build up to it in Halo 5, but not return her till Halo 6. Or the very end of Halo 5.
Personally, I feel that bringing her back would be a cop-out on 343 Industries' part. They should just leave it at dead character dead.
Dead character dead. Well, then my question...
That's just me.
Well, yeah, and I can see they'd have to bring her back tactfully. I'll put it that way.
Not some bullshit way.
Yeah, not some bullshit way. Like, they're gonna have to, like, you can't just have her back. You have to have a legitimate reason or something new to her character. But anyway, the main one that
Hey,
most
look,
people...
she's in the terminal over there.
The main one that most people talk about is, maybe Cortana isn't really gone, which sounds just stupid. I'm gonna fucking just diss that one to begin with.
Well, that's part of where my theory lies. I don't think she's actually dead, per se.
No. I mean, like, the Cortana that we saw, Chief actually has her somewhere. I've seen this talked about. As in, the ending sequences of
where
Halo 4.
There's a copy?
Yeah, where the ending sequences of Halo 4, Chief has an actual copy with him, and all that happened in Halo 4 doesn't matter. To which my response to that is, you're fucking retarded.
I would agree there.
The other one that I've heard is that he could, in fact, go and hunt down Halsey, knowing that, Cortana was forged from Halsey herself, and make a new Cortana.
The only problem with that is that the new Cortana would not have the relationship with Chief that we've seen in especially 3 and 4.
Yeah, and the other problem with that is essentially you're going to have this person that isn't really going to feel like Cortana. They'll have Cortana's voice, possibly, and that's about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna feel like it's gonna feel more military, like her dialogue in Halo 1.
Yeah. And something that I also saw that was slightly interesting is somebody had suggested that what they could do is make a new Cortana, but use brain tissue from John as well, and forge a Cortana that has Chiefs and Cortana's memory in it. But my response to that is, at least from the way that I understand the Halo universe creates AIs from brain tissue, in order to do full-on memories like that, you're gonna need to take fucking all of John's brain, for fuck's sake.
I don't see that working out.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the Halo lore is there an AI, a smart AI made from 2 brains.
Yeah. So that one is another one that I see a little off. The other one that has been mentioned is that, as we saw in Halo 4, for a while there, the Librarian had Cortana. And it is very, very possible that she has either fragments of her, or has a copy of her, or something else like that. We don't totally know what Cortana did with the Librarian in full.
That's a little... It's possible.
The grounding for that one comes in the fact that we all knew, and even Cortana knew from the beginning of the game, that she was falling apart, you know what I mean? And so the grounding for that comes in people saying that she could have made a plea to the Librarian to do something, or to make a copy or something like that.
Maybe.
Again, that one's another maybe. That's a little iffy. And of course, if you guys are wondering why are we even discussing this, it mainly has to do with the intro to Halo 5, from what we've seen so far. Not really the intro, but the bit of video that we saw at E3. I'm sure you've seen it, Urias.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, and he has Cortana's chip there. And,
Well, can we talk about my theory real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so my theory, if they bring Cortana back, and they probably will, because what the fuck ever, here's what I think will happen. I'm gonna start with this theory with discussion about the composer. Now, we know that the composer can transform, what is it, biological matter to technological matter, and then vice versa, but...
Human Cortana.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The translation between technological data and biological data is skewed a little bit, in that we see that in the Prometheans.
Yeah.
So, one thing that could happen, and I don't really want it to, is that my theory is that Cortana somehow managed to put herself into the composer, and I know from the lore that the composer is connected to a network of some sort, so even if that composer is destroyed, the technology, and therefore Cortana's data, is somewhere.
Yeah.
And the technology for the composer could be perfected to transform technological matter into biological matter. So not only would this be bringing Cortana back, but it would make her human.
Yeah.
Just stupid fucking theory. Or not really fucking theory, just an idea.
Yeah. And I mean, technically that is a possibility. What we have seen is not only in the lore do they talk about it, but we've seen even from Spartan Ops with what's his name, that one scientist, the way in which it seemingly can be done. Yeah, that, biological matter can be taken and then digitized and then either transported somewhere or, they can take, like in the case of the Prometheans, full, personalities and full identities. The other thing that would be interesting, though, is, as the librarian talked about it, when they tried to go back to biological, they had a hell of a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I believe, I want to believe that's what created Prometheans. Because they are...
That's pretty much what she
biological...
states, that it created Prometheans, they were essentially a mistake.
Yeah, and the Prometheans are... You can visually tell that Prometheans are part technology, part biological matter.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not just... the conversion process has not been completed to transform all this technological data into biological matter.
Yeah. The other one that I've heard, and this one I actually kind of would favor, to be honest, is not really bringing Cortana back, but having John go a little bit fucking insane and have experiences and thoughts with her when she's not really there. Essentially Chief losing it a bit.
So, like Halo 3 kind of deal.
Yeah,
when
kind of.
Chief is chasing Cortana images.
Yeah, like that. And essentially, it's been talked about multiple times in the series, and, it's something that's definitely there. John doesn't exactly have the most stable mental state at all.
No, he kills shit, and when he's not killing shit, he's just
there.
not killing shit.
He's just there.
And we've talked about this. We both want Chief to kind of lose it on Halsey if he actually ever finds her.
Oh, I think he will. I definitely see, especially with the bit that they've teased with Halsey in Spartan Ops, I definitely see Halsey being a part of Halo 5 and 6. Although it'll be interesting, because when we last left off, she's now missing an arm and with the fucking Covenant, so...
Spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't care about
Spoiler
Spartan
alert,
Ops.
who hasn't played Spartan Ops. Well, you should anyway, because it is technically canon. If you don't feel like playing it alone, I'll even jump on with you. So those are a couple of them. Those are pretty, but the other thing is, and you even said you want dead character dead.
Yeah, I do. I mean, if you're gonna make the creative decision to kill off the character, there are many different ways you can go about the story while keeping that character dead.
Yeah, there are. But the one thing that I worry about is how would a Halo game operate without Cortana? How would the story go? How would the game go? To be honest, I feel like it would just leave the game empty, in a way.
Yeah, because Cortana is kind of your guiding hand. She tells you where to go and tells you what needs to be done.
Not only just guiding hand, but she's like the one interaction Chief has with throughout the games. Like, of course, he ends up meeting up with other people, he talks to Marines and stuff like that, but when he's actually out doing things, you hear his conversations that he has with Cortana. And lacking that, it's gonna feel a bit like an empty game.
And if you notice, he only ever, he'll acknowledge orders and stuff, but he only really ever talks when Cortana is the subject of the discussion. That's just a little bit of observation I made. And he only really ever talks to the captain when he threatens to have her
decommissioned.
Destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I personally am voting a bit well, the other thing with Halo 5, we saw him, he's got the fucking cloak on. He's definitely got the Wanderer look, which, by the way, I still don't understand why they have a cloak on a Spartan, because that makes no fucking sense to me.
There's a couple things. One, it's just purely a suspense thing. When they open the trailer, you don't know who it is. You don't know what game it is.
No, I got that. I got for the suspense thing, but for me it was just more of a realism thing. It was like, he so doesn't need a fucking cloak. Why is he even wearing one?
He might. If you look at his armor, it's visibly cracked in some places.
Yeah.
it's not a stretch to imagine that the shields aren't quite working at optimum capacity, and sand can do pretty good damage to mechanical armor like that.
Very true. Very true. I will concede that point. But yeah, he definitely has the whole wanderer look. He's holding the chip. He ends up running into whatever the fuck that one thing was. You probably know what it's called. I don't.
I don't. The big theory I have right now on that is I think it's a war states, and some lore behind that. If you've read, well, I don't want to give away spoilers to books, but if you, I don't know.
They're mentioned in the books. Go read them. End of discussion. Yeah. That has been a public service announcement from the podcast.
I will say this. Someone's, a major character's children were, imprinted on those sphinxes, and, he may be looking for information from sphinxes. There are like 10 or 9 of them. Something like that.
Interesting.
Yep.
And so, hold on. So their children personalities were grafted onto these things?
I don't remember right now, but I think so. They may have died.
Because that could very much play into the whole Cortana coming back theory.
It could. The other theory about what he saw there was that it was mendicant bias. And that the location of the trailer thing was the Ark, which is where, we know 2 pieces of the 6 are.
Okay. Interesting. I think this is definitely going to be what I want to hear from all the podcast listeners who do send in listener mails, and those of you who don't, send them in anyway now. Again, it's linked onto the forums, and in case you didn't know, Forerunner Conflict Podcast at yahoo.com. Definitely this week, send in listener mail regarding your thoughts on the rest of the Halo series, where it's going in general, thoughts on Cortana coming back, whether you like it, whether you hate it. I know I'm gonna get some kind of hate mail for something from Yeesus this week. That's pretty much a given.
Jesus, I think, is an angry kid. Or angry guy. My bad, he's got a degree in history.
Yeah, Yeesus is definitely fun, though. I definitely enjoy reading his listener mail.
He's cool. I played some Civ 5 with him.
But oh yeah, by the way, he's trying to get me to get Civ 5 and have me join everybody up, which I said possibly. But anyway. I'm trying to think if there's another Cortana theory that I'm forgetting about. Like another major one that isn't something like stupid and off the wall.
Chief has a copy?
Well, yeah, there could be a copy. But
you already talked about that.
Yeah, we already discussed that. The other thing that has been mentioned is that it's her speech at the end of Halo 4 is a little ambiguous. In that she fractures herself, everything's blowing up, she's talking to Chief, and she says, most of me is down there. Which could be interpreted as being a little ambiguous exactly as to what she means by down there.
She could be the composer.
Exactly, and that's what people are thinking, is that she could technically be in the composer.
And I think that's exactly what the Didact did too. That swirling thing on the bottom of the last level, I believe, is part of the composer.
Yeah.
I think. And Didact falling into it may have turned him into technological data. Yeah,
I don't think he was dead at all. Oh, by the way, I just have to say, that is hands down the most unclimactic ending of all time. Actually, I take that back.
X put a pulse grenade in his torso.
Yeah, it was just kind of lame. They could have done a lot better, in my opinion. It's actually second, though, to the ending of the first Legend of Zelda game. I always forget about that one. For those of you guys who don't play, you go against Ganondorf, you fight all the way through this incredibly complex and difficult game.
Oh, yeah.
And he dies in 3 hits. Like, I'm not talking anything special here. You literally run up, hit him with a sword 3 times, and the game is over. It's pretty bad.
You saved the princess.
Yeah.
Or Hyrule.
Yeah.
I believe is the main.
Yes, it is Hyrule. You should go through and play the Zelda games. Anybody who hasn't played them yet should.
I've played most.
But anyway, so I think that pretty much covers all those. We've got a bit more time, Uriah, so as long as you're cool with sticking around and discussing villains.
I can definitely discuss villains.
Okay, hands down, number 1, favorite villain in video game history, go.
Joker. Fucking Joker.
Ooh, that is a good one. And of course, I'm assuming you're talking Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, not the really bad Batman games in the 90s.
We don't talk about those games. But definitely Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I really love that they brought Mark Hamill back to being the voice of Joker, because Mark Hamill is the best Joker voice ever.
Oh, he totally is. That was definitely, like, when I started playing Arkham Asylum, and you end up finally hearing the Joker talk right at the beginning, and you hear Mark Hamill, I was just like, oh my god, yes! Also give Mark Hamill something to do.
Yeah, something in his old age that isn't Luke Skywalker.
He's so typecasted. So bad.
Yeah. It's either Star Wars or Joker.
Yep. Alright, let me think. My favorite one. Well, fuck me sideways. Okay, Okay. Mine is a tie, to be honest.
Alright, who and from what game?
Between GLaDOS from Portal.
Okay.
Because I've always, like, with her, it's more of a personality thing.
Yeah, because there's not really much depth to GLaDOS until you reach towards the end of Portal 2.
Yeah, there isn't tons. But what I feel is she's up there as one of my favorites just on the grounds of the way in which she was written. Her dialogue was written beautifully. The way in which they showed character and gave character to a machine like that was definitely amazing.
I just love her sarcastic.
That's the other thing. Her little quips.
Yes, quips. It says here you're a terrible person.
Yep, just those are definitely great. And then the second one. Oh, actually, I'm torn as to whether or not I can't call them a villain, really. So I'm gonna recant that.
Who were you thinking of?
I was thinking of, technically, based on what we can assume from dialogue, G-Man isn't the best guy out there.
Okay.
But the problem is, he's not really a villain, he seems a lot more like a freelancer than a villain.
Yeah, we don't know his origins, and we don't know who he represents, who his employers are.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. He keeps referencing his employers, and that's about all we've got.
But we do know that he's being very ambiguous about them, and if you're going to be ambiguous about your employers, there's something you don't want either the player or the character knowing.
Yeah, well, he's also responsible for the whole mess in the first place. Well, I mean, technically his employers are. But he's the one that convinced the scientists to do what they needed to do to open the Resonance Cascade.
To what end, though?
Yeah, exactly, to what end, from what we've seen so far. And so, I'm going to include him as a villain as for what we've seen so far, because I love him as much as I do. If that ends up changing, well then he'll become one of my favorite good guys of all time. Other favorite ones out there. Definitely Dat Bowser. No, I hate Bowser.
Bowser has no character.
Fat fuck.
The problem with video game characters, or video game villains, is that there's always a flaw with them, and a good villain has a not so noticeable flaw.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Handsome Jack.
Meh.
What's your problem with Handsome Jack?
No, he's a good villain. I'll give it that. I started playing Borderlands 2 and ended up not finishing it.
What?
Yeah. I started it, and then I got sidetracked, and then I didn't feel like going back to it, and then I had to give it back to the friend that I was borrowing it from.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't completely finished the game either.
Oh! You ain't got shit, son. You're a horrible person.
So? But I love his dialogue.
Yeah, his dialogue is good.
Your face? It went...
Okay, I got a couple. Pretty much most of the main villains in the Assassin's Creed series were all very, very good. Rodrigo Borgia was also, he had just this kind of almost suaveness about him with the way in which he commanded everything. He was just so in charge. It was kind of cool.
Oh, the Pope's son?
Yeah. No, the Pope.
Oh,
The guy
okay,
who
yeah.
becomes Pope, yeah. No, his
I-
son. Fuck his son. He's one of my most hated villains of all time. Oh my god. Anyway.
I'm not a huge fan of Brotherhood either.
No, I liked Brotherhood. I just fucking hated his character. Like, I couldn't wait to kill him. The entire game, I was like, let me at his ass! Make him a bust, boy! Anyway. The other one that I'm definitely gonna give it to, in terms of charisma and awesomeness, is Haytham Kenway.
Oh,
I
I
love him.
fucking love that twist. I mean, I hated the game, but I love the twist with Haytham Kenway.
Yeah, you start the game with him, and you're like, dude, he's such a cool, badass assassin. And then he meets with everybody, and you do some work for him, and you're like, this is so cool. And then you realize, what? You're a Templar? What do you mean, may the Father of Understanding guide us? What the fuck is this shit? No!
That's the only part of Assassin's Creed 3 that I thought had any merit.
The other thing that I definitely enjoyed about him as a whole is kind of like there's that bit of mystery with him. We have no reason why he switched over, which we might get some light on it in Black Flag if Black Flag can do things correctly, which I doubt they will because of the lack of Desmond. But anyway,
I think they have a pretty good premise for the present day story. I
Really?
mean, it's kind of shallow, but it'd be interesting to see what they work with on how they work it.
No, it'll be interesting. I'm just completely disappointed on the fact that you build up with all these games about Desmond being an assassin and then he's dead, spoiler alert. And and you never got a game with him as an assassin, which kind of makes Assassin's Creed 2 completely useless because the entire point why he was in the Animus was to learn to be a fucking assassin. Ugh.
Yeah, that was
It makes
bottom
the
line,
major
fuck
premise
Assassin's
of
Creed.
like 3 other games useless.
Yeah, just fuck Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, fuck AC3. You dropped the ball, motherfucker. You dropped it. Other good villains.
Sovereign from Mass Effect.
Yes, yeah, Sovereign's definitely another really, really good villain.
I love the disdain that he talks to Shepard with.
Oh yeah, there's so much like cockiness there. It's great. Like there's just
It's
tons
not
of
even really
disdain.
cockiness, just because cockiness would imply that there's no data to back up his statements, and the cycle has gone on for longer than we know. So he knows that, or he's pretty sure that
Fine,
no matter
then.
what Shepard does,
I will rephrase it to confidence.
confidence, hubris would be a better word. And on the note of Mass Effect, Saren.
Yeah, Saren was definitely a really good villain.
It was kind of sad towards the end when you realize that he's not in total control.
Yeah, it definitely was. Watching Saren fall the way he did was really, really sad when you get to the bottom of it. We've got time for me to say about one more, and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to come up with a very, very good one here. Okay, I'm gonna be really, really edgy for the last one, and I'm gonna say, in the Fallout universe... Oh my god, no, I've got 2. First one isn't edgy. Benny in fucking Fallout New Vegas, hands down one of my favorite guys of all time. I so wish that I could have joined up with him. Like, I wanted him to be my companion in Fallout New Vegas.
I haven't gotten that far in New Vegas.
Well, you saw the intro. At least.
A while ago. I'm still playing Fallout 3.
He shoots you in the head.
Well, I figured that.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Okay. Anyway, so I won't give any more spoilers because I actually care if you get pissed at me. And then 2, I'm gonna be really edgy and say in the Fallout universe, humanity. For causing all the problems in the first place. Look at me, I'm edgy. Anyway.
Too edgy for me.
Too edgy for y'all. Anyway, guys, we've had your eyes on for about a half hour now. I think we're going to go ahead and let him go and finish, considering that we're recording this before Battle Nights. Everybody's got to get ready. Uh-oh, what's that? Toast recorded this before the first segment? Yeah, go suck it. Anyway.
Toast.
Yes.
Got an outro song.
You have a what?
Outro song.
That's too bad.
Oh, well, fuck you.
No, go ahead and let me know the song. I'll have a couple breaks in here, so I can go ahead and use it.
Doomsday by Nero.
Okay, you're gonna be serenaded by Tuesday by Nero while we go into the next segment?
No, Doomsday.
Oh, Doomsday. Okay.
Yeah.
Well then.
Not really serenade.
You guys are going to be listening to Doomsday, if you're listening to this the proper way, on Podomatic or iTunes, while you guys wait for me to come back in for the last segment. We're going to be touching on listener mail, and I'm also going to reveal who the new podcast co-host is as well. So stay tuned for that. Don't go away, and definitely keep listening to the FC Podcast. And welcome back into the FC Podcast. Again, I am your solocaster. There we go. Toast 78901. Thanks for still tuning in. And of course, we reach our last segment, which means I'm going to be covering listener mail, and I'm also going to reveal the identity of the new co-host. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our first piece of listener mail coming from Yeshish, the very great Yeshish, who his listener mail is entitled "Don't ever talk about ghosts or use Creed in the podcast again." A little background: he was a little pissed off when we did the whole paranormal talk. He felt that we wasted his time because, according to him, we were talking about bullshit the whole time. But anyway, he goes, "Yeshir," he goes, "that's all I have to say. Except, Gunny, sir, you will have plenty of downtime to continue to do the podcast. Just use a temporary substitute like Kaz to fill in and discuss random bullshit for your 1 hour segment. P.S. Make it 2 hours." So there's Yeezus saying we need to make the podcast longer. Quick little note on that, Yeezus. I would agree. I would totally be down for doing a longer podcast. I feel I'd be able to actually put segments in, if you know what I mean. Like, I'd be able to compartmentalize it and be able to be a bit more creative with it instead of just one discussion a show. The problem with that is we put it to a vote before, and the podcasters didn't want a 2 hour long show. If you want, though, just for you, Yeezus, I'll put it up there again and just see how people feel. He continues, "Don't just quit, bitch. Legacy is a well-oiled machine and will be fine under the supervision of Feedback and Loco." He goes, "Never mind. Do what you gotta do." So Yeezus is being respectful. And then he says, "And close out with the song in one of your breaks. Best thing to come out of Michigan other than Red Wings and Max Doggy / Super Christian Weird Guy / who the hell's in a marching band anymore." Oh, Yeezus, you and your angerness. And he links me to a YouTube video, which I'll check out later. That's definitely going to be our closing out song, Yeezus. So if you're listening to this on the iTunes or through the Podomatic player that's embedded in the forums, you guys are going to be serenaded by whatever Yeezus has decided for you. I haven't looked at it yet, so I don't know. The next piece of listener mail comes from... this one's a little funny. It's entitled "My First Listener Mail" with an exclamation point. And it says, "From Alan." And for a while there, I couldn't figure out who the hell Alan was. And I was trying to figure things out, and I ended up figuring out who it was. It's our very own Jam Cliche. I was so confused because I'm looking at it for a while, and I'm just like, who the fuck's Alan? Like, I don't know an Alan. What the fuck is this? Anyway, he says, "Hey Toast, you know me, always late to the party. Since Gunny's departure from the show has left the spot unfilled, I just want to say I hope the show continues to run strong, and if you find a good candidate from Red Army to help you be new co-host, that would be amazing." I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more that I would love to have a Red co-host on the grounds that I feel that things would be so much more balanced. However, I will cover that in a bit to come here. He also says, "I also saw that your listener mail this time has been a little lackluster, so I wanted to suggest that you include a segment after the listener mail reading when you throw out topics from the show for people to respond to." I tend to do that throughout the thing. This time I had the call out saying people should definitely talk about Cortana.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and see if we get any relevant listener mail from there. But in terms of other topics for people to talk about in their listener mail, hell, I'm pretty much open to it. You guys can pretty much send anything in about anything in regards to anything that we've covered so far. Considering that the new map pack is coming out, I believe this week, you guys can go ahead and discuss that as well. I mean, from what we've seen, we have a new game type called Ricochet. And from what we've seen, that could definitely be interesting. Possibly something maybe even implemented in the war. All depends. He continues by saying, also offering rewards based on who may have caught a keyword during the show and submitted via listener mail is also an awesome way to boost that initiative. Anyway, I could have said any of this to you over Skype, but I wanted to show my support for the podcast by submitting an email. Well, thanks for submitting the email. What I will say is I would love to be able to do rewards. I think that would be great. The problem with it is I am a broke-ass college student trying to be able to even save money now so I can take off out of my home state of California to move. However, I have a couple great possible job prospects soon. Everybody listening, keep your fingers crossed for me, or pray to whatever deity you may pray to that I get it. And essentially, not only would the pay be so awesome that I'd be able to cover all of my expenses, but I'd even be able to start doing things like that and have little, rewards for the podcast, maybe even some rewards for some events out there. So stay tuned for that. He also says, "Rest in peace, Killer Gunny. The old king is dead. Long live the king. Thunder rolled. It rolled a 6. Terry Pratchett guards cards." Nice reference there at the end, Jam. The next piece of listener mail comes from our very own Adrian, our Norwegian friend who has frickin' stuff all the time. And his is entitled Tasty Ambergris, when he has in parentheses whale puke in case you didn't know it's considered a delicacy. Yeah, unfortunately, I do know. And he goes, "Hey, Toast," leaves a space blank for the new co-host and Cass. Cass, unfortunately, isn't here. Since I won't be recording with Gunny, and Cass and I mostly hang out at Gunny's house, we hang out all together. Don't know if we'll have Cass on the show anymore, so we might have to say goodbye forever to Papa Big Dick, unfortunately. Anyway, he continues, "Since Toast didn't get my pigeon joke, I'll have to start it off by explaining it. Pigeons, for some reason, represent peace. I have no idea why. My question is, are you sure you don't mean doves? Which are very, very related to pigeons, but not quite pigeons." Anyway, he continues, "Also, Toast, you mentioned underground gnomes." He thinks that was a term that I used. He says, "My English teacher spent an hour teaching us about that for no apparent reason. For those out there that don't know of the underground gnomes, fucking hell, pay attention. This is real important. God had told Adam and Eve that they had to wash their children. God would check if the children were clean every now and then. Adam and Eve were lazy, so they would always delay the washing for a couple days. God warned Adam and Eve that he was coming the next day, so they hurried up and washed as many of the children as they could and hid the remaining children that were dirty. When God came and visited them, he said, 'Those that you have hidden shall remain hidden.' So the dirty children were abandoned by Adam and Eve." And he continues by saying that he has plenty of knowledge about these creatures. That was just a tiny bit of what he knows. However, he doubts the gaming community is interested in those kind of northern myths. I will say I actually am, on the grounds that, as I've said this before, citing the fact that you're Norwegian, I actually have pretty much half Norwegian, half Norwegian, quarter German, quarter conglomerate of other stuff in me. We do a couple Norwegian things during the holidays. For example, we even make lefse. For those of you out there who know what that is, Adrian's probably the only one, and stuff like that. So I actually know quite a bit about that, also considering that my sister is a total dork when it comes to knowing the lore and mythology that is from the north. So yeah, but yeah, I'd be cool if you kept sending in listener mail talking about that. He has a picture of a chick with a tail. I'm just gonna leave that be. And he says, "Gunny, you will be missed, sniff," and then he says, "Peace, T." Well, thank you. Our final piece of listener mail for the night comes from our very own Bubba Bishop saying, "Gunny is gone? Meh." He starts it off by saying, "Dear Toast, well, I apologize for missing another episode, the season premiere at that, and it was purely my fault. He had held off on doing something all summer, and the end result was him slaving away reading a horrible book and writing an essay on it over the course of 3 days. No time for podcast letter writing. He said he has himself whipped and branded an F on his hand for faithlessness to atone for my actions. Well, you don't have to do that. I am not that angry of a deity." He continues, "So Gunny, the host I always ratted on and wanted to insult if I ever got a guest spot, has left. He was kind of missed by me, and more so by others. If Gunny decided to stick around and is present for the reading of this letter, fuck you, because you abused the one time I'll ever be kind to you." No, unfortunately, Gunny isn't here. If he isn't there, send him my regards, Toast, in a less offensive manner, of course. Well, hopefully he'll be listening to this. I mean, he should be. He should at least support us somehow. He has time to just listen to something, especially when it can just be beamed to his fucking iPhone. He continues, if the new host has been selected by the reading of this letter, congratulations, heathen. You get to bask in toast godliness more so than others. He says he's not even going to try to be the new co-host because he's about as reliable as a temperamental kitten and would only make the 5th show at best. Well, good thing. I mean, I'd love to have you on, Bubba, but yeah, I need consistency, unfortunately. And he says that he was gonna leave out his ghost story, but seeing as only one other person sent in mail, props to Agent for doing so, he's gonna share his shittingly freaky story. I'm definitely interested to hear this. And I'm just gonna read this verbatim, guys. I'm not even gonna pause to even say anything until the end of it. This happened around 2 years ago, about 3 months after my parents finalized their divorce, so I was living in my grandparents' house. I was home alone, and my dad and grandmother were visiting relatives out of state, and my sister was at a friend's, and I did the only thing I ever do when I'm home alone, stay up till about 5:30 a.m. reading horror novels and passing out when exhaustion overcomes me. So around 2 in the morning, the door to my bathroom opened and swung open. I figured the air conditioner had just blown it open, so I got up to shut the door. Right as I touched the doorknob, the power went out. Fun shit. I started walking towards the garage so I could flip the breakers, and as I walked through the kitchen, I heard what sounded like a grown woman giggling perversely. I promptly noped the fuck out of the building and sat on the curb for nearly an hour, drawing strange looks from passing cars. Eventually, I reached the conclusion that after not sleeping for around 48 hours, I was hearing things. So I walked to the garage, flipped the breakers, and went inside and made a pot of coffee to wake my hallucinating self up with no paranormal incident. As I walked back to my bedroom, I passed the bathroom, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a nude woman sitting on the edge of the bathtub, and I tripped and ate shit on the carpet in surprise. I sat up and looked back into the bathroom, but there were no naked ghost lady. Not taking any chances, I went into my dad's room, pulled up his mattress and got the key from under it, opened the gun safe, pulled out a 12 gauge and a new box of shells, and sat in the corner of the room with a loaded shotgun until I passed out. The next morning, I woke up on my dad's bed, which was now remade without the shotgun. When I got the key from under the mattress and checked the gun safe, the shotgun was inside the trigger with the trigger lock on, and the box of shells was unopened, with the proof of purchase sticker still intact. I figured I had just hallucinated everything until I noticed something dark on the palm of my hand. When I checked, I realized my hands had been covered in dried blood. And when I checked the bed again, I found dried blood on almost everything, but in weird ways. The inside of the pillowcase was caked, but the pillow itself and the outside of the case has no blood on it. The mattress liner had blood, but the underside of the bed sheets and mattress itself. But not the underside of the bed sheets and mattress itself. The quilt had blood stains on one side and parallel and identical stains on the opposite side. I probably went into shock or something at this point because instead of completely losing my shit, I calmly gathered the sheets and took them to the garage to be washed. I went to the master bathroom. Why? Because the household one had a bare-skinned spirit woman, obviously, and started to wash the blood off on my hands. When I noticed in the mirror, I had blood on my jawline and chest as well. I took a shower, went out to the garage, and gathered my wash sheets and put them in the dryer, and it was about then that it sunk in that holy fuck, I woke up covered in blood. I ran to town. I live about a mile from the edge of town and showed up at my friend's house at 6 in the morning because I quote-unquote wanted to hang out. So yeah, in conclusion, there are 2 things that could have happened in that house 2 years ago. 1, I was raped by a perverted ghost whore that was on her period, or 2, he's Dexter on acid. Freaked out podcast fan, Bubba, and so yeah. Wow. I don't mean to sound like an ass here, but I almost kind of like, I mean, I know you don't have proof on it, and I'm not going to call you a liar, just that's almost so far out there, bro, that I'd like love to have some kind of proof. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that. He also says, P.S. he'd like to request Panzerkampf by Sabaton for the outro song. Fine by me. Considering that we already have another outro song and Urias has claimed another one, I'm probably going to throw this one in as the first break, or I'll have Yeezus, or I'll put Yeezus first. It doesn't matter. All the requested songs will be in the podcast if you're listening to it on the Podomatic player on iTunes. But so yeah, that's pretty much our listener mail. Now the final thing for me to discuss for the night is the choosing of the new podcast host. And I've given it a lot of thought this week. I've met with each potential member, both on their own and in groups of each other, and I've talked to each one and hung out with them. All of them definitely filled the requirements, and so it was down to synergy and what they could bring to the podcast. So for those of you who don't know, I got 5 applications. Kazul, Max Doggy, Yeesus, Zeta Crossfire, and Ominous Souls. And I really at first, and I'm just going to flat out say this, I'm not going to go into detail about why I didn't choose each one. I feel it's more of a personal thing. All these people will be getting personalized messages from me, either hopefully by tomorrow, letting this know. So if you guys heard it first on the podcast, I'm sorry. I'm a little busy tonight, so if I didn't get to send out the mail, I apologize, but you will get a piece that will detail everything for you. I really, really wanted a red co-host really bad, and unfortunately the only one who applied was Zeta. Not that there's anything wrong with Zeta. I didn't mean that to come out that way. Zeta, I love you, bro. You're one of my favorite guys in FC. I love the work that you've done. However, I ended up siding with Max Doggy. And the reason why I'm going to choose Max Doggy as the new co-host is because of what he can bring to the table. He currently runs the FC Gaming News Twitter feed, so he's very in tune with news of all game type, of all different things involving video game and FC, which is really crucial, especially for the FC newscast coming up. And that's also a role that Gunny had. Essentially, he fills all the holes that Gunny left. He's a vet and has been around FC for a while to be able to give good FC insight, which is something Gunny was able to. He's very in tune, even more so than Gunny is, with gaming news, which is what Gunny used to do, and we need that on the show, especially for the newscast, like I said. I met with him. Him and I have a nice synergy going on. I think him and I can get along. I think this is going to be the beginning of a very nice friendship between me and him. And yeah, I think that also what he has is he has kind of that level-headed approach, and I've said this before on the podcast. The way in which Gunny and I could be, attributed it is the way in which we have sportscasters. Actually, I think I might have said this on the the live cast that we did, so most of you guys might not have heard that. And the way in which we had it structured and planned from the beginning is that Gunny was going to be your stats guy that you hear about in sports, and I was going to be your play-by-play guy. And what we mean by that is the stats guy kind of comes in level-headed, very neutral and thoughtful approach, brings up the numbers, brings up the news, brings up the history, that kind of stuff. And then you have your play-by-play guy that does most of the talking, or not even most, but just talks a bit more and is the very, very opinionated one that can bring some kind of fire to the conversation. And everybody else who applied was either, one, too much like me, and they, essentially we would have had two hot-headed people. That was, and I'll just say it right now because he's listening and just kind of piss him off. That was the problem, Yeesus. And I believe I may have even talked to you about that. I can't remember if I did. I talked to somebody about it. We would have had it would have turned into a screaming fest, which is entertaining, but not what I want the podcast to be. And yeah, Max just happened to fill all the holes that I feel was necessary. And so if you're listening to this, Max, congratulations, you were chosen. If this is the first you've heard about it, congratulations. I mean, I guess this is a cool way to find out. And for the other 4 that applied, like I said, you will all be getting a personalized message from me. I apologize if this is the first place you heard it, but like I said, I'm rather busy tonight. But yeah, so in short, those of you guys listening, Max Doggy is going to be our new co-host. So other than that, guys, I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Definitely stay tuned to the podcast for more information on FC, more news to come out, especially with the FC newscast coming out, and of course just more conversations between me and the new co-host. I am right now your only host, Toe78901. Thanks for listening. Keep showing up for the 3rd war of Halo 4. And in short, guys, just always remember to stay classy.